Midwest weather can be absolutely crazy, and here in Iowa, especially so, we've been coping with huge temperature swings. We had a single digit spell a couple of weeks ago after having 70-degree days, and now today it's going to be 85 out, but back down into the 30s later this week. One of the ways I save my sanity when temps are going up and down by 50 degrees is to plant up some pots of some things that are already blooming that I'll really enjoy, but I can move them inside and outside as needed and keep them out of the super cold temps. I'm also going to plant up some things that are hardy to about 25 degrees so that I know they can take the cold and I can leave those out. And one good tip I have for that this time of year is use some containers that are either small enough or light enough that you can move them in and out. We'll also talk about the cut flower field and how I cope with those temps out there. It's just crazy this time of year in the Midwest. We have 50 to 60-degree temperature swings. We had single digit temps just about a week and a half ago, and now it's going to be 85 today, but we can have that in a 48-hour period. So it just gets absolutely crazy, and a great way to save your sanity is to find some things that are blooming but that you can keep safe also. So today I'm going to plant up some violas. So these are violas I started from seed back in January for a May bloom. So they are tiny. And I was craving some things that are blooming right now. So I also picked up some purely for my own enjoyment at the nursery that are already blooming. This is a new variety called Elegance Antoinette Collection Pansy. That is really cute. These are from seed, and I'll put up on screen which varieties these are. And it's absolutely fine that these are small. These are my cut flower ones, and you might think violas for cut flowers is a little crazy, but I'll actually plant them in a pot. We're going to put them super close together, and that way the stems will stretch out, and in May I can use them as cut flowers. But I wanted to start with something that's purely for enjoyment and already blooming. The other thing I picked up to put in this pot is a rose, and I grabbed this at the grocery store, right? And we're all guilty of this sometimes. It's blooming, it's so cute. Maybe we just want to put it on the table for a week. The thing to know about these is they frequently haven't been hardened off if you're grabbing them at the grocery store. So they've been in a nice 80-degree greenhouse. They've been pushed with a lot of fertilizer to bloom. And so if you're going to put them out in a pot, they need to be hardened off a little first. I've left this for a week in my unheated back porch area. So it's got some cooler temps at night, but it's still protected from the wind and things. And now we'll put it in the container. So I'm going to put some more soil in this container. This has been an odd year. I did not plant tulips this year, and I'm really glad I didn't, because our bulbs with the single digit temps a couple weeks ago, all the leaf tops are just brown. I will put some video up of that. And so they'll still bloom, but they will not be good for cut flowers because the tops look terrible of the leaves. The reason I didn't plant tulips is for cut flowers, we pull the whole bulb. So I have to make enough off of them to cover my bulb expenses, as well as labor planting them and everything. And so it can be tough sometimes. It's also at a weird time. So the tulips generally will bloom in April, and then we have a gap between anything else being ready. So it's just weird from a marketing standpoint. It's like, oh, we have tulips, and then stop. We don't have anything for a few weeks. So until we can figure out how to fill that gap, it's just awkward to grow them. It's also, tulips do not like these up and down temps. Narcissus cope with them okay. Again, the tops got burnt this year, but or froze, not burnt. But the tulips, when temps go up and down like that in huge temp swings, they actually put energy into blooming, and then they'll start to come up, and then they have to stop putting energy in. And so what ends up happening is they will bloom really short. So if you've ever had really short tulips, it's probably not because you didn't have enough total cold period, but because your temperature swings went up and down. So I just got tired of dealing with that this year and said, let's not plant them. And it turned out to be a fortuitous time to make that choice, since now all our bulbs got burnt. Or I keep saying burnt because they're brown at the top, but they actually got froze. So I tucked in, I've got the rose in the back, and then I tucked in 2 violas, and that fits fine. The other thing I stole from the yard was some cute little muscari, and I'm going to pop those in. Have them down here in my potting soil. But you'll see, this is the same thing happened with them. They're a little brown at the top, so I'm just going to pinch that off. Either way, it's going to look bizarre, right? So either have brown grassy looking things on the leaves. These are a little limp because they've been sitting down here in my potting soil now. I'm going to tuck those in. It's kind of nice to have things in the yard that you can steal. And I have already been moving things around the yard as well. So I moved some narcissus. It might seem like a weird time of year to be moving daffodils, but my personal philosophy on moving things around the garden is do it when you think about it, because otherwise fall will come and I will forget that I aim to do that. So by doing it now, it's done. I don't have to think about it. They may not bloom as gorgeously this year, but again, they're already brown, so it won't matter. I've got one more I'm going to tuck in here for these. For the cut flowers, a few ways we cope. I've really watched the weather closely about planting, right? So I have snapdragons that I plan to plant tonight, and I have been holding off on that because the temps have been so up and down. It's 85 today. Snapdragons would not be happy in 85-degree weather. They much prefer 50-degree weather, which it will be the rest of this week. So in order to let them get situated in the best weather for them, I just held off a day in planting them. I think that's going to look really cute. The muscari are leaning over right now because they were not happy that I left them out of soil for so long. That is going to be very cute. And I will get that some water here in a minute. And next, I'm going to plant up these violas, and that will look very different because I'm going to plant things close together. This is close together also, but all right, I've got a giant pot here. This one is heavy. I will not move this one in and out. Unless it gets down to 25 degrees or so, these should be absolutely fine outside. So we're gonna put those in here. I need some more potting soil. This is gonna come up quite a bit. I have some soil obviously already in here, but I need a lot more. And I filled the bottom of this mainly with compost from my compost pile from last year. And I will leave this down a little bit. I don't like to come too far up on it because I want it to be able to hold some water. And we also have all of these to go in here. Obviously they're plug trays, so it's a lot less volume of soil that I'm popping in. And one thing I did forget that I'm going to go grab is my butter knife, because that's the best tool for getting these out of here. Okay, I now have my trusty butter knife here. This is also what I use out in the field to plant. And because you can just dig down, move a little soil, and pop a plug in. You can dump this whole tray out into a flat or something in order to plant. The roots at this point should be established enough to do that. So I'm going to do only one variety per pot. And that's because I'm doing these for cut flowers. I want to keep it separated. So you see, I just put this in, pop one in, and again, we're going to go really close together here. You will be surprised how many I'll fit in here. And that's just because it will force them to stretch out. There's even 2 in this plug. And it'll give us stems at least 12 inches, and that is usable in little jar arrangements and things. They're not going to be huge, tall cut flowers, obviously. So I grabbed some scabiosa starts, and these are a perennial scabiosa. It's Fama blue and Fama white, and I'm going to use the Fama white. I just want to pop one or two in this pot with the geraniums, and I think what will happen is they will dance above the geraniums. They're kind of light, airy plants if you're not familiar with them. So I think that should work. And I will have to keep it cut down though, which is absolutely fine with scabiosa. You can keep cutting on them like crazy. And I probably filled this pot now too full. I might have to scoop some back out here just to make room for my plants. That's one thing I love about small plants. They're so much easier both in the garden and to get started, and they establish quick and then take off. But things like this geranium won't bloom until late in the season if I don't get it going now. And I had to keep track which color I started here. I have both a white and salmon in here, and I'm going to do one pot with salmon and one with white. So I want to make sure I get that correct. It's actually not white, it's called apple blossom. This is from the Maverick series. Those seeds you can get from a couple different sources now to start yourself. Geraniums, or pelargoniums as the technical name is, actually, these annuals, you can get in any nursery. So I didn't used to like them. I thought they were more of a grandma flower, and maybe it's just because my grandma liked them, so I thought they were grandma flower. But I actually love them now. They just seem classic. And you know, if you've ever looked at photos from like the south of France or someplace where they're growing in the windowsill. So I've got two of those in there, and that actually fits in this pot really well. I know they will get much bigger, so I'm not going to overcrowd those. I'm going to pop in, I want the white scabiosa, and I'm going to put these, what I'm going to consider having a back to the container. And that plant will get fairly substantial in size. I'm going to go ahead and put two in just to be safe that it fills in. And why not? They're from seed, so there we go. And that will be my salmon version, and now I'm going to do my apple blossom version. When I started flower farming, I thought my biggest weather challenge would be cold weather. Unfortunately, it is actually the wind. That might sound crazy, but like today, it's pretty breezy out, right? And I do use landscape fabric to plant our annual flower field into. And if you don't need to do that, I don't recommend it, right? For a lot of reasons, but it's not great for the environment. I will admit that. And if I didn't have such a fight with weeds, I wouldn't do it. But I highly recommend everyone do what they have to do for their business. And I find it necessary. The problem with that is if it's windy like it is today, then it is absolutely impossible to make new beds and put landscape fabric down. So I will sneak out like I did on Sunday morning when it was 25 degrees, because that is the only time this week that we were predicted not to have winds over 10 miles per hour. And when I say over 10 miles per hour, sometimes that's more like gusting to 30 or more. So it can be a challenge with the wind around here. You can see today I'm fighting it. Hair's in my face. I would normally have a hat on, but a brim on camera doesn't look great. It's not that I care what I look like, but you probably should want to see my face. All right, so we're going to finish planting this one up with apple blossom. I'm going to use the white scabiosa again. And I might go ahead and, I'm debating if I should put 3 in here, but I know I shouldn't because they will get bigger. But I'll just go ahead and put 2 scabiosa in again. And maybe this time what I'll try is moving them around. we go. All tucked in. And I save all my pots like this and reuse them. Now I can go put all of these into their home. Oh, so now I have stuff in my eye. I've got my containers here right by the back door so they can move into the back porch if needed and stay safe there. It is still hot out today and very windy, so I do not think I will be planting snapdragons tonight. That would just stress them out to put them out in the wind and the hot weather, so I will wait until tomorrow. Rue is here with me and he is ready for a walk, so that is what we are going to do next. Come on, Rue.